May I follow up, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Whose responsibility is it to determine the scope of the contract? And how can that be most efficiently and competently achieved?
The responsibility ultimately is of whoever is paying this for the system. You're paying for someone to build you a vehicle. If you fail to specify the vehicle, it'll be hard for you to be able to declare success or failure at the end. This is a question that brains much smaller than mine have been grappling with, and I think CMS is doing a lot of work and thinking in that area to say, how do we get better handle on our scope, especially for something like EEF. But I would, and not to avoid the question, but in my mind, a sustained focus on requirements and scope definition prior to awarding fixed price contracts is key. And investing the right amount of time and money in doing that will save us 10x down the road. But whose responsibility it is? It is the responsibility of the person who's going to ultimately say, yes, I have a system that I want or I don't.
Well, I guess my final concern would be this. The comments seem to address perhaps the uncertain role in setting forth the scope of the contract that falls at DHS's feet. But I guess you are aware that DHS wasn't a total free agent in this process, and it was subject to forces, including those present as well as others, which keep you from having a certain capacity within which to work in trying to determine the scope of your work, because it necessarily takes into account time, period of time necessary to not only put it up, but to implement it. And if it's stopped in midstream, then it's a lot of money that's gone to waste, and a lot of persons who have had expectations set forth that would not necessarily be realized. So it's not simply an issue of whether or not you or DHS and the others were collaborating as effectively as you could. It was taking the best you could, and doing the best you could with what you had to work with at the time within the context in which you worked. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say, sir. I will give you an anecdote to illustrate that dilemma. In speaking with another state CIO they're implementing a similar system, his analysis, in my mind, sums it up. He said, we only know what we know, and we will never know what we don't know as DHS equivalent agency. But what I count on is true partners who will help me see through what I don't know. A strong prime who have high degree of confidence in that they have my interest at heart, and a strong project manager who will keep me honest on what can be done in the time frame I'm seeking. And his statement to me was, we will always aspire to more than we can accomplish. You have to keep us honest. That balance, that healthy relationship between those three entities, project manager cannot plan for something that a prime contractor or the client cannot articulate. And you cannot manage something that is not defined. So having that relationship defined either early on or post-award, that's a question of what's your risk tolerance. At the end of the day, all those three roles have to play. And in this case, you have a fourth role, which is that of a system integrator, because you're not doing it build from scratch. So now they have to deal with the fact that they're assembling these parts sourced from all over the world, and the prime and SI may be the same, may be different, have a meaningful role in defining scope. None of those are luxuries available through DHS, but now they are necessities that you have to account for as you move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.